All right, in this video, we're going to be talking about common server components. Everything that I talk about can be found in pretty much any server on the market today. We're going to be using this ThinkSystem SR630v4 as our model server. There's different configurations, lots of different form factors for servers in general. We'll be going through this one, all the components front to back. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. Let me spin this around to the front. When we're taking a look here, we can see that we have these drive bays here in the front. These are 2.5-inch drives. Drives come in different form factors, different sizes. It really depends on the server and the purpose of the server in general. On the right, we've got some ports and we've got some lights for system indicators. This is a one-use server. So relatively small form factor, 1U is about 1.5 inches, if I remember correctly. If we had 2 of these servers stacked on top of each other, that would be 2U. 3 of them would be 3U, and that denotes how much rack space these servers are taking up. If we spin this to the rear, we can see that we have 2 power supplies, so dual power supplies for redundancy. We also have 2 onboard networking cards. And right above that, we have these cages. These are PCI cages, PCI slots. This is going to be for networking cards or GPU cards as well. If we were to pull this directly out of the rack, this is exactly what it would look like. Here on the right side and the left side, you'd see slide rails that slide it out of the rack for accessibility. Then this latch here on the top is what opens up the hood and allows us to see all the internal components. So let's go ahead and take a look. So like I said, we're going to go through this front to back. Let me adjust this a little bit so we can see. The data drives in the front I mentioned go all the way to this green part here, which is the back plane. If I spin it around, you can see that a little bit better. The back plane would traditionally have some connectors and some cabling that would go towards the rear of the server, but you can't see that. To avoid blocking the other components in this 3D tour, this top left card right here, this is going to be a RAID card, an internal RAID card that's going to allow you to control these drives along with the data on those drives. Beneath that, we have an M.2 adapter holding 2 M.2 drives. These are just another form factor of drive, traditionally going to be called boot drives and used for installing an operating system such as Windows Server or Linux to actually run the server. If we look here, we can see that this black component is actually the fans. We've got 8 fans in this system. They're going to be pulling in cold air from the front of the server, passing it over the hot components of the server, and producing hot air out of the rear of the server. Now, this is a one-use server, so relatively small form factor, lots of power packed into this server. So you can see that we've got 2 CPUs here and lots of memory. What we're looking at here is actually the processor heatsink module. The processor actually sits underneath this module, if you can see that there. And that's because it's producing lots of heat that needs to be cooled. So this module captures the heat, passes it through these fins, through these copper piping, and allows the fans to blow cold air and cool the processors. If these processors were more powerful, then we would have to look at other cooling options like heat mitigation with a partial liquid cooling or a full liquid cooling system. There are these green sticks, these green rectangles. These are going to be your sticks of memory, your memory DIMMs, and this being an Intel-based system, there's 16 memory sticks per CPU, which makes 32 sticks of memory in this server. Taking a look at the rear, we've got the dual power supplies that we saw from the back. And then we also have the cages that would actually hold those PCI adapters and connect them to the main system board. Now, from a component standpoint, that's pretty much everything in this server we talked about. And this could be seen in a little bit different variations in other types of servers, but for the most part, everything's going to be the same. Now let's look at a couple different configurations of this server specifically. So here under configurations, we see the one that we are using as our model. Beneath that, we've got some more 2.5-inch drives along with hot swappable M.2 drives. This is taking those M.2s that we saw internally and allowing you to access them from the front of the server, allowing you to replace them while the server is on, thus them being hot swappable. Beneath that, we have these E3.S1T drives. These are NVMe drives, and it allows us to put 16 of these in a server. Beneath that, same thing, but with the hot swappable M.2s. And beneath that, we have E3.S2T drives. Taking a look at the rear, dual power supplies for redundancy on all the servers. Couple of different sizes when it comes to those PCI slots, but now we're also getting M.2s in the rear as well, along with 2.5 inches in the rear. I mentioned in the event that you have powerful processors generating a lot of heat in this small form factor, we might need liquid cooling. Here is an open loop port which allows piping to flow into the server for cold water in and hot water out. So we talked about server components, common server components. We saw some different configurations for this specific model. If you wanted to go through this information on your own, you could go to the internal view and you'll see everything labeled out here for you. You can find all this information on lenovopress.com in the 3D tour, or you can go into the product guide for even more detailed information. If you like this video, leave a comment below. Feel free to share it with someone that you might think it will be helpful to. Thank you, and I'll catch you in the next video.